The rain was falling hard against the windows of the Romano estate that night. I stood in the hallway outside the library, my wedding dress heavy on my shoulders, and I wasn't supposed to hear what came next. I was looking for my father. The ceremony was starting in 20 minutes, and I needed to tell him my shoes were too tight. A stupid problem for a stupid day. But when I heard Dante Romano's voice through the half-open door, I froze. "She was a mistake," he said. His voice was calm, cold, like he was talking about the weather. "I never wanted her, but her father controls the ports, and I need those ports." I pressed my hand against the wall. My chest felt tight. Then why not just kill him and take them? That was Lorenzo, Dante's brother. I recognized his laugh. "Because the other families would see it as weakness," Dante replied. "Marriage looks like diplomacy. It keeps the peace. And once she gives me an heir, I'll have everything I need from the Castellano family." My father's name, my family, reduced to a transaction. "What about her?" Lorenzo asked. "She's pretty enough. You could do worse. She's 22 years old and thinks the world is safe," Dante said, and I heard ice in every word. "She studied art in Paris. She probably thinks I'm romantic. That this life is exciting. She doesn't understand what she's walking into, and I don't have time to teach her." I bit my lip hard. I tasted blood. "So what's the plan?" Lorenzo again. "She stays in the East Wing. I stay in the West. We appear together when necessary. She produces an heir within a year. Beyond that, I don't care what she does with her time." I should have walked away. Should have run. But my feet wouldn't move. "You're a cold bastard, Dante," Lorenzo said, but he was laughing. "I'm a practical one," Dante corrected. "Now let's get this over with." I heard footsteps. I ran. The bathroom was empty. I locked the door and stared at myself in the mirror. My makeup was perfect. My hair was perfect. The dress cost more than most people made in a year. And none of it mattered. She was a mistake. I never wanted her. The words played over and over in my head. My phone buzzed. Sophia, my cousin and the only friend I had left in this world. 5 minutes. "Are you ready?" No, I would never be ready. But I typed back anyway. Almost there. There was a knock on the door. "Isabella." My father's voice. Rough and impatient. "What are you doing in there?" I unlocked the door. Vittorio Castellano filled the doorway. He was a big man, all sharp suits and cold eyes. He looked at me like I was a problem that needed solving. "You look pale," he said. "I'm fine." "Good. Because this marriage is important. Dante Romano is the most powerful man in the city. You should be grateful." Grateful. The word made me feel sick. "I am," I lied. He offered his arm. I took it because I had no choice. We walked toward the chapel, and I could hear music playing. 200 people were waiting inside. Politicians, crime bosses, people who smiled while they planned murders. This was my future. This was my life. The doors opened. Everyone turned to look at me. And at the end of the aisle stood Dante Romano. He was 40 years old. Tall, dark hair, dark eyes, a face that showed nothing. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than a car. And when his eyes met mine, I searched for something. Anything. Warmth, regret, recognition. I found nothing. The ceremony was a blur. I repeated words I didn't mean. I felt Dante's hand on mine when he slid the ring onto my finger. Cold, efficient, like signing a contract. When he kissed me, it lasted exactly 3 seconds. His lips were firm and completely emotionless. The crowd applauded anyway. Mrs. Romano. That was my name now. Isabella Romano. The girl I used to be was gone. The reception was held in the grand ballroom. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, champagne that cost $1,000 a bottle. I smiled until my face hurt. I danced with men whose names I forgot immediately. I accepted congratulations from women who looked at me with pity. They knew. They all knew what this was. Dante barely spoke to me. He was always across the room, talking business with other men. When he did approach, it was only to introduce me to someone important. His hand would rest on my waist. Possessive. Performative. "My wife," he would say. Not Isabella. Not my beautiful wife. Just my wife. Like a title. Like a role. Sophia found me near midnight. She pressed a glass of real champagne into my hand. The expensive kind. "You look miserable," she said quietly. "I am miserable. Did something happen?" I told her everything. Every word I'd overheard. By the time I finished, her eyes were blazing with anger. "That bastard," she hissed. "Isabella, you don't have to do this. We could what? I interrupted. Run? They'd kill us both. Divorce? You know that's not how this works. So what are you going to do? Survive, I said. Just like my mother did. Just like every woman in this life. You deserve more than survival. Well, I'm not going to get it from him, I said. I drank the champagne in one swallow. So I'll take what I can get. Money. Security. A roof over my head. Maybe that's enough. It wasn't, but it was all I had. At 2 in the morning, Dante and I were finally alone. The master suite was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. A bed the size of my old apartment. Everything was black and white and cold. Dante went straight to the bar and poured himself scotch. He drank it in one motion. Then he poured another and turned to face me. There's a guest room next door, he said. His tone made it clear he hoped I'd use it. You can sleep there if you prefer. This was it, the moment where he'd do his duty. Nothing more. I thought about refusing, about demanding the guest room and keeping whatever dignity I had left. But then I remembered his words. Once she gives me an heir, I'll have everything I need. Something stubborn rose in my chest. I'll stay, I said, meeting his eyes. After all, you need an heir within the year. Don't you? His expression shifted slightly. Surprise, maybe. You heard that conversation. It wasn't a question. I heard everything, I said. I reached for the zipper of my dress. I heard that I was a mistake. That you never wanted me. That I'm just a transaction. The zipper stuck. I struggled with it, frustration and humiliation burning through me. Then he was there. His fingers brushed mine aside. He worked the zipper free with surprising gentleness. You shouldn't have heard that, he said quietly. But I did. I stepped away, clutching the dress to my chest. So let's not pretend this is anything other than what it is. A business deal. An alliance. A means to an end. I walked into the bathroom and closed the door. And finally, I let myself cry. 4 months passed. Dante and I perfected the art of being strangers who shared a last name. He lived in the West Wing. I lived in the East. We ate meals separately. We appeared together only when business or social events demanded it. We spoke to each other with the distant politeness of acquaintances. The wedding night had been exactly what he'd promised. Duty fulfilled. Nothing more. He'd been efficient, clinical, and he hadn't touched me since. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself the relief I felt at his absence was preference, not rejection. I was lying to myself. Because somewhere in those 4 months, I'd started noticing things. The way his rare smiles transformed his face. The flash of something almost vulnerable in his eyes when he thought no one was watching. The controlled grace of his hands. I was falling for a man who didn't want me. And it was pathetic. Carlo was Dante's second in command. He came to my wing almost daily with messages. Mrs. Romano, he'd say, always formal. Mr. Romano wants to know if you'll be attending the charity gala tonight. Or, Mr. Romano noticed you've been walking the gardens alone. He's assigned additional security. Or, Mr. Romano says you're free to redecorate the sitting room if you'd like. Always Mr. Romano. Never Dante. Never your husband. After 6 weeks of this, I finally asked. Why does he care what I do? Carlo's weathered face stayed neutral. Mr. Romano takes his responsibilities seriously. Your safety is his responsibility. My safety or my availability? Something flickered in Carlo's eyes. Mrs. Romano, if I may speak frankly? I nodded. The boss isn't an easy man to understand, Carlo said carefully. But he's not the man you think he is either. Before I could ask what he meant, my phone buzzed. Sophia, reminding me about lunch. The restaurant was upscale Italian in neutral territory. Sophia was already seated when I arrived, her security detail at a nearby table. You look exhausted, she announced. Not sleeping? Not really. He's still keeping his distance? I nodded, focusing on the menu. Men are idiots, Sophia declared. Especially men in our world. They think showing emotion is weakness. It's not about emotion, I said quietly. He just doesn't want me. He made that clear. Sophia leaned forward. Can I tell you something? Something I heard from my uncle? I nodded. The Russo family is making moves, she said, her voice low. They've been buying politicians. Consolidating power. My uncle thinks they're planning something big. The Russo family. Our rivals. What does that have to do with me? They know you're Dante's weak spot, Sophia said bluntly. Going after you would be a direct attack on him. That's ridiculous. He doesn't care about me at all. Are you sure? Sophia raised an eyebrow. Because from what my uncle says, Dante's been obsessed with your security since the wedding. Tripled the guards. New surveillance systems. He personally vets anyone who gets within 50 feet of you. The conversation with Carlo suddenly made sense. That's just protecting his investment, I argued. It would look weak if something happened to me. Keep telling yourself that, Sophia said. But maybe pay attention to what he does, not what he says. On the drive back to the estate, I noticed a black SUV behind us. It wasn't one of ours. Marco, I said quietly to my driver. Are we being followed? His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. His jaw tightened. Yes, ma'am. Hold on. He accelerated smoothly, weaving through traffic. But the SUV kept pace. My phone rang. Dante's name on the screen. Where are you? His voice was clipped. Urgent. Leaving lunch. Marco says we're being followed. I know. We're tracking you. Stay on the phone with me. There was something in his voice I'd never heard before. Fear. Dante. Just stay on the phone, Isabella. The use of my name made my breath catch. Carlo is 2 minutes behind you, Dante continued. Marco knows the protocol. The SUV suddenly accelerated, pulling alongside us. I caught a glimpse of tinted windows. Something metallic being raised. Marco jerked the wheel hard right. We careened down a side street. Gunfire erupted behind us. I screamed, dropping the phone, clutching the seat as Marco drove like his life depended on it. Because it did. Mrs. Romano. Dante's voice, tiny and distant from where the phone had fallen. Isabella. I grabbed for it with shaking hands. I'm here. I'm okay. Where is Marco taking you? I don't know. Where? I looked out the window. The warehouse district. More gunfire. Closer. The rear window exploded. Glass showered over me. Almost there, ma'am, Marco said through gritted teeth. Then I saw it. One of Dante's properties. A warehouse that looked ordinary but was actually one of his most secure locations. The gates opened. Marco gunned through just as they began closing. The pursuing SUV slammed into them. Armed guards appeared from everywhere. And then Dante was there, yanking open my door, his face pale, his eyes wild. Are you hurt? His hands were on me, checking for injuries. Did they hit you? Talk to me, Isabella. I'm fine, I managed, though I was shaking violently. The window broke, but I'm not hurt. He pulled me from the car and into his arms, crushing me against his chest. I could feel his heart racing. Could feel him trembling. Cristo, he breathed into my hair. When I saw the tracker deviate from your route. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. The safe house was everything I'd expected. Fortified. Luxurious. Completely isolating. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the river. Bulletproof glass. Guards at every entrance. A gilded cage. But this time, Dante was locked inside with me. You'll stay here until we neutralize the threat, he said, pacing like a caged animal. He'd shed his jacket, rolled up his sleeves. His usually perfect hair was disheveled. Carlo is coordinating with our people. The Russo family will pay for this. I sat on the leather sofa, a blanket around my shoulders, watching him. This Dante was different. Agitated. Almost frantic. How long? I asked. As long as it takes. He stopped pacing. His gray eyes met mine. Days. Weeks. However long until I'm certain you're safe. So I'm a prisoner again. His jaw tightened. You're protected. There's a difference. Is there? He crossed to the bar, poured scotch, reconsidered, and poured a second glass. He brought it to me. Drink, he ordered. You're still shaking. I was. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind bone-deep exhaustion. They were shooting at me, I said, the words feeling distant. Those were real bullets. I know. Dante sat beside me, closer than he'd been since our wedding night. This is my fault. I looked at him sharply. Your fault? I should have anticipated this. The Russo family has been making moves for months. I should have increased your security sooner. I'm not a possession to be guarded, Dante. I'm a person. A person who almost died today because of me. His voice was raw. Because you're my wife. The word hung between us. Why do you care? The question escaped before I could stop it. You made it clear before we were even married that you didn't want me. That I was just a strategic asset. His head snapped toward me. What? I heard you, I continued. The day of the wedding. You said I was a mistake. That you never wanted me. That I was just a sheltered girl who didn't understand this life. Dante's face had gone completely white. You heard that conversation. Every word. He stood abruptly, turning his back, his shoulders rigid. For a long moment, he said nothing. Do you want to know why I said those things? Dante's voice was quiet, controlled, but underneath, I heard something brittle. The real reason? Enlighten me. He turned. The expression on his face stole my breath. Pain, raw and unhidden. Because I was terrified, he said simply. I took one look at you when your father first brought you to discuss the arrangement, and I was terrified. I blinked. Terrified of what? Of you. He moved closer. Of what you made me feel. I'd spent 20 years in this life building walls. Making sure I cared about nothing and no one. Because caring makes you weak. Makes you vulnerable. And then there you were, looking at me like you could see through every defense I'd built. My heart was hammering. I wanted you from the first moment I saw you, he continued. Not just physically, though Christo, yes, that too. But I wanted to hear you laugh. Wanted to know what made you angry. What made you happy. Wanted things I had no business wanting from a strategic marriage. So you decided to hurt me first. I decided to protect myself, he corrected. And in doing so, I hurt you. Hurt us both. Because these past 4 months have been hell, Isabella. Living in the same house with you. Seeing you every day. Knowing I destroyed any chance we might have had. I set down my glass with shaking hands. You're telling me that all this time, the distance, the coldness, it was because you wanted me too much? I'm telling you I'm a coward, he said flatly. I chose fear over honesty. And it nearly cost you your life today. He knelt in front of me. The sight of this powerful man on his knees was shocking. When I got the alert that you were being followed, he said, his voice rough. When I heard those gunshots over the phone, I realized something. I would burn this entire city before I let anything happen to you. Dante, let me finish. His hands covered mine. I don't want a strategic asset, Isabella. I don't want a trophy wife. I want you. The woman who glares at me across the dinner table when she's forced to attend my business meetings. The woman who turned the East Wing into an art studio out of spite. The woman who has more courage than most of my men. Tears were streaming down my face. You have a strange way of showing it, I managed. I know. His thumb traced circles on my wrist. And I know I have no right to ask this after everything I've done. But Isabella, give me a chance. Let me prove that I can be more than the cold bastard you married. I thought about the past 4 months. The loneliness, the rejection, the hollow ache, but I also thought about Carlo's words. He's not the man you think he is. About the tripled security, the obsessive tracking, the fear in Dante's voice when I'd been attacked. Actions, not words. I need guarantees, I said finally. Hope flared in his eyes. Anything. I won't be kept in the dark about business threats. If I'm a target because I'm your wife, then I deserve to know what I'm up against. Agreed. I want to be your partner, not your possession. That means I get a voice in decisions that affect us both. Agreed. And I want the truth, Dante. Always. No more protection through deception. He nodded slowly. I can do that. On one condition. What? You give me the same honesty. His hands tightened on mine. Tell me what you need from me. Tell me when I'm failing you. Tell me if, he swallowed hard. If you can ever forgive me for how this started. I studied his face. Looking for manipulation. For strategy. All I saw was vulnerability. I heard something else that day, I said quietly. Something you might not remember saying. His brow furrowed. Lorenzo asked if you'd pretend to want me on our wedding night. And you said you'd do your duty. Nothing more. Dante closed his eyes, pain etching lines around his mouth. But here's what I've realized. I freed one hand to cup his jaw. You were lying then too. Because that night, when you touched me, you were holding back so hard it was painful to watch. His eyes opened. I was terrified I'd lose control, he admitted hoarsely. That I'd show you how much I wanted you and you'd use it against me. I'm not interested in weapons, Dante. I leaned forward until our foreheads touched. I'm interested in truth. And the truth is, I've spent 4 months trying to hate you. Trying to convince myself that the ache in my chest was relief. Trying to pretend I didn't notice every time you looked at me when you thought I wasn't watching. You noticed. I noticed everything. His lips met mine. And it was nothing like our wedding night. This kiss was desperate. Hungry. 4 months of denied want pouring into it. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I don't deserve you, he murmured. Probably not, I agreed. But you're going to spend the rest of your life trying. Aren't you? Yes, he said. Starting now. The war with the Russo family lasted exactly 9 days. 9 days of violence. Of raids and counter-raids. Of old alliances tested and new ones forged. I watched it unfold from the safe house, glued to news reports that carefully didn't mention the real reasons. Dante came to me every night. Sometimes bloodied, always exhausted, and I learned new sides of my husband. The warrior who commanded absolute authority. The strategist who thought 10 moves ahead. The man who would do anything to protect what was his. Lorenzo has been feeding information to the Russo family, he told me on the 5th night. His voice was flat with betrayal as I cleaned a cut on his hand. For months. That's how they knew your route. I paused. Your brother? My brother. The words were bitter. Carlo is handling it. I didn't ask what handling it meant. What will you do with the Russo family? I asked instead. What I should have done years ago. His free hand cupped my face. Eliminate them as a threat. Permanently. The old me might have been horrified. But I'd heard those gunshots. Felt the terror. Do what you need to do, I said quietly. Just come back to me. His eyes softened. Always. On the 9th day, Carlo arrived with news. It's done, boss, he said. Antonio Russo and his sons are dead. The rest of the family is scattered. I watched Dante's face. Saw cold satisfaction. No guilt. No regret. And Lorenzo? He asked. Also handled. Dante nodded once. Good. After Carlo left, Dante pulled me into his arms. It's over, he said against my hair. You're safe. At what cost? I asked quietly. 15 of their men dead. 4 of ours wounded. 1 killed. 1 family would be grieving tonight. A woman would be a widow. Children would grow up without a father. The weight settled on my shoulders. I want to meet them, I said suddenly. The family of the man who died. Both Dante and Carlo looked at me in surprise. That's not typically done, Carlo said carefully. I didn't ask what was typically done, I interrupted. A man died protecting me. The least I can do is thank his family. Dante studied me. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Pride flickered in his eyes. Then we'll go together. The visit was brutal. The widow was young, maybe 30, with 2 small children clinging to her legs. Her eyes were red from crying. Mrs. Romano, she said, her voice shaking. You didn't have to come. Yes, I did. I took her hands. Your husband was brave. He protected me when he didn't have to. I'll make sure you and your children are taken care of. Always. She broke down then. I held her while she cried. And I saw something shift in the way Dante's men looked at us. At me. Not just respect for the boss's wife. Real loyalty. You were right, Dante said as we returned to the car. About meeting them. I know. He pulled me close. Come home with me, Isabella. The threat is gone. It's safe now. Home. The estate that had felt like a prison. On one condition, I said. Anything. No more separate wains. We share a room. A life. No more distance. Heat and hope mingled in his expression. You want to move into the master suite? I want to build something new, I corrected. Not live in your space or mine. Ours. Understanding dawned. The south wing. It's been closed since my grandmother died. But it has the best views. Then that's where we'll make our home, I said. Starting tonight. Over the next 3 weeks, we transformed the south wing. Contractors worked around the clock. I chose furniture and art. Dante handled security and technology. We argued about paint colors. Compromised on curtains. Made love on dusty drop cloths while workers were at lunch. It was domestic and normal and completely foreign to both of us. And I loved every minute. One evening, we sat in what would become our bedroom, drinking wine from the bottle. The bed arrives tomorrow, Dante said. About time. I leaned against him. I'm tired of the guest room. I could carry you to my old room. Too far. I straddled his lap, feeling him harden beneath me. Besides, I like it here. It feels like ours. Everything I have is ours now, he murmured against my neck. The estate. The businesses. Everything. I pulled back. What? When we have children, they'll inherit everything. But if something happens to me before then, it all goes to you. Nothing's going to happen to you. You don't know that. His expression turned serious. This life is dangerous. I need to know that if I fall, you'll be protected. Powerful enough that no one would dare touch you. The thought of losing him made my chest tighten. My lawyer is drawing up new documents, he continued. Everything becomes joint ownership. You'll have access to all accounts. All properties. All business interests. Dante. It's non-negotiable, he finished. You're my wife, Isabella. My partner. It's time you had the power to match. I didn't know what to say. Thank you, I whispered finally. We made love there on the floor of our unfinished bedroom. And afterward, wrapped in his arms with moonlight streaming through the windows, I felt something I'd never expected. Happiness. Real, genuine, terrifying happiness. "I'm falling in love with you," I said into the darkness. Dante went completely still. Then his arms tightened around me. "I fell in love with you the day I met you," he admitted. "I've just been too much of a coward to say it. Say it now. I love you, Isabella Romano." His voice was rough with emotion. "I love your strength. Your fire. I love that you make me want to be better." I turned in his arms. "I love you too, even though you're definitely a bastard." He laughed, pure and joyful. "We're quite a pair," he said. "The best pair," I corrected. 2 months later, I woke up with my head in the toilet. "Again, Isabella." Dante's voice from the bedroom. Concerned. "That's the 4th morning this week." I rinsed my mouth and stared at my reflection. Pale skin, dark circles, and a suspicion growing stronger every day. When had my last period been? 6 weeks ago? 7? "I'm fine," I called back, though my hands were shaking. Dante appeared in the doorway, already dressed in charcoal slacks and a white shirt. "You're a terrible liar, amore." The endearment made my heart squeeze. "I have a meeting with the charity board this afternoon," I said, changing the subject. "Isabella." He crossed to me, tilting my chin up. "What's wrong?" I'd promised him honesty. Always honesty. "I think I might be pregnant." The words hung in the air. Dante's face went blank. His body went very still. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his hand moved to my stomach, pressing gently. "Our baby," he said softly. "Maybe," I cautioned. "I haven't taken a test." "Take one." His voice was rough. "Now. Please, Isabella. I need to know." Carlo was dispatched to get pregnancy tests. He returned within an hour, his face carefully neutral. I locked myself in the bathroom while Dante paced the bedroom. 3 tests. All different brands. 3 positive results. I opened the door. Dante froze mid-pace. Our eyes met. I nodded once. He was across the room in 2 strides, lifting me off my feet, spinning me in a circle. His laugh was pure joy. "We're having a baby," he said, setting me down gently. "Cristo, Isabella, we're going to be parents." Relief flooded through me. "You're happy? Happy?" He cupped my face. "I'm terrified and ecstatic and completely unprepared. But yes, amore. I'm happy." We told no one else, keeping the news to ourselves for the first precious weeks. Dante became impossibly protective. Security doubled. My diet was scrutinized. Dr. Moretti began making house calls weekly. "You're going to drive me insane," I told him one evening. "I'm keeping you safe," he countered. "Both of you." But the world outside was shifting. Carlo came to us 4 weeks after we'd learned about the pregnancy. His expression was grim. "We have a problem," he said, laying a folder on Dante's desk. "Victor Marchetti is making moves." I knew that name. Marchetti ran one of the smaller families. Always ambitious. Always hungry. "What kind of moves?" Dante asked. "He's been meeting with the other families. Suggesting that you've gone soft." Carlo's gaze flicked to me apologetically. "That marriage has made you weak." "Let me guess," Dante said dryly. "He's offering to provide the strong leadership Chicago needs." "Essentially." Carlo pulled out photos. "He's also been courting some of your lower-level guys. Offering better deals. Has anyone taken him up on it?" I asked. "Not yet, but he's persistent." Carlo hesitated. "There's something else. Tell me." "He knows about the baby." Ice flooded my veins. "How?" I demanded. "We're not sure. Could be someone on staff. But he's been making noise about the Romano heir. About how convenient it would be if something happened to you before the child was born." Dante's face went absolutely cold. "Call a meeting," he said quietly. "All family heads. Tomorrow night. Make sure Marchetti knows he's expected." The meeting was held at one of Dante's downtown properties. I wasn't supposed to attend. Women never attended these meetings. But I insisted. "If they think you're weak because of me," I argued, "then they need to see that I'm not a weakness. I'm an asset." Dante hesitated, torn between protecting me and recognizing the wisdom. "You stay beside me," he finally agreed. "And you let me handle Marchetti." I chose my outfit carefully. A black dress. Elegant. Expensive. My grandmother's ruby necklace. I looked every inch the Mafia wife. Powerful and untouchable. The other family heads were already assembled. 5 men. All dangerous. All watching as Dante and I entered together. Victor Marchetti was younger than I'd expected. Mid-40s. Silver threading his dark hair. Expensive suit. Practiced smile. He rose as we approached. Romano. Good of you to call this meeting. And Mrs. Romano, looking radiant as always. His eyes raked over me with undisguised interest. It does, I replied coolly. My hand rested protectively over my still flat stomach. The gesture was deliberate, claiming my pregnancy publicly. I saw the calculation in Marchetti's eyes. The quick assessment and dismissal. He thought I was a weakness. He had no idea. Dante guided me to the head of the table, seating me on his right. Gentlemen, thank you for coming, he began. It's come to my attention that there are concerns about Romano operations. I thought it best we address them directly. No concerns from me, said Giovanni Rossi, the oldest family head. Your numbers speak for themselves. As do mine, added Leo Carbone. The new distribution routes have been very profitable. Marchetti smiled thinly. Of course, the business side is strong. Dante's always been good with numbers. My concern is more philosophical. Oh? Dante's voice was dangerously soft. Enlighten us. This life requires certain qualities, Marchetti said. Ruthlessness, focus, the willingness to put business before personal attachments. His gaze slid to me. Some might worry that domestic bliss could dull those qualities. Some might, Dante agreed. Are you worried, Victor? The use of his first name was a calculated insult. I saw Marchetti's jaw tighten. I'm concerned for all of us, he said smoothly. When one family shows weakness, we all become vulnerable. Weakness. Dante's laugh was cold. Let me tell you what I see when I look at my marriage, Victor. I see a woman who has made me more strategic, more focused, more dangerous than I ever was alone. I see someone who understands this life better than most men born into it. I see the future mother of my heir, who will inherit an empire twice the size of the one I inherited. He stood. You want to talk about weakness? Let's talk about you. You've been bleeding territory for the past year. Your men jump ship because you rule through fear instead of loyalty. You're so desperate for power that you've resorted to making veiled threats against a pregnant woman. Marchetti's face flushed. I never. You did. Dante cut through the protest. And everyone at this table knows it. The question is, what should I do about it? The room went deadly silent. You have two choices, Victor, Dante continued. You can apologize to my wife, swear fealty to the Romano family, and accept a significant reduction in your territory as penance. Or you can refuse, and we settle this the old way. The old way. Challenge. Blood. Marchetti's eyes darted around the table. Looking for support. Found none. I meant no disrespect to Mrs. Romano, he said finally. The words clearly costing him. Or to your child. That wasn't an apology. Marchetti's hands clenched. I apologize for any misunderstanding about my intentions. Better, Dante sat back down. Carlo will contact you tomorrow about the territory adjustments. This meeting is adjourned. I should have known it was too easy. 3 weeks after the meeting, I was 7 months pregnant and beginning to show. Dante barely let me out of his sight. But I had a charity event at the museum. One I'd been planning for months. I'll have 12 guards, I assured him that morning. Carlo's driving me personally. It's the museum, Dante. Not a war zone. Everywhere is a war zone, he muttered. But he was smiling. Call me when you get there. And when you're leaving. And every hour in between. The fundraiser was beautiful. The museum transformed with flowers and lights. I circulated among Chicago's elite, chatting about art while my security maintained a discreet perimeter. I was discussing a new scholarship program when Carlo appeared at my elbow. His face ashen. Mrs. Romano, we need to leave. Now. What's wrong? The boss. There's been an incident. The world tilted. What kind of incident? Not here. Carlo's hand was at my elbow. I'll explain in the car. The drive was the longest of my life. Carlo's explanation was clinical, but the words painted a horrific picture. Marchetti hadn't accepted his defeat. He'd arranged a meeting under the guise of discussing territory transfers. Then ambushed Dante with armed men. How bad? I asked, my hands cradling my belly protectively. He's alive, Carlo said. Which wasn't an answer. The estate was chaos when we arrived. Armed men everywhere. Staff pale and frightened. I ran through the house, following urgent voices to our bedroom. Dante lay on our bed. His shirt cut away. Dr. Moretti working frantically on a wound in his shoulder. There was so much blood. Dante. His name came out as a sob. His eyes opened. Found mine. Isabella. You're supposed to be at the fundraiser. You're supposed to not get shot, I countered, moving to his side. My hands shaking as I took his. Sticky with blood. What happened? Marchetti. The name was a curse. Bastard had 8 men waiting. Where is he now? I looked at Carlo. In the wind. But we're hunting him. Mrs. Romano, Dr. Moretti said. I need space to work. I'm not leaving him. Isabella. Dante tried to sit up. Winced. The baby is fine, I interrupted. But you're not. How bad is it, doctor? The bullet went through cleanly. Missed the major arteries. He'll need rest and antibiotics, but he'll recover. Relief made my knees weak. Over the next hours, the full story emerged. Marchetti's ambush had been carefully planned. But he'd underestimated Dante's survival instinct. Now Marchetti was missing. Every contact abandoned. Every safe house empty. He's running, Carlo reported that evening. But he can't run far. I sat beside Dante's bed, holding his hand, watching his chest rise and fall. I want to help find him, I said quietly. Carlo looked at me sharply. I'm not going to sit here waiting while that bastard plans his next attack, I said. Dante's vulnerable right now. Someone needs to run things while he recovers. With all respect, you're 7 months pregnant. With all respect, I'm also the wife of the head of this family. Which means I have authority. I stood. Call a meeting of the lieutenants tomorrow morning. I saw doubt in Carlo's eyes. But also respect. I'll make the calls. The meeting was held in Dante's study. 10 of his most trusted men gathered around the table. They looked skeptical when I walked in. Gentlemen, I began, standing where Dante usually sat. As you know, my husband is recovering. Until he's back on his feet, I'll be coordinating our response to Victor Marchetti's attack. With all respect, Mrs. Romano, one of them said. Tony, I thought. This is men's business. This is family business, I corrected. And I'm family. Now, Carlo, walk me through what we know about Marchetti's whereabouts. For the next hour, I absorbed everything. Marchetti's known associates, his properties, his patterns. I asked questions, probed for weaknesses, and slowly, their skepticism transformed into respect. He has a sister, I said finally. Unmarried, lives alone. Has he contacted her? We have people watching her, Carlo confirmed. No activity. He won't go there himself, I reasoned. Too obvious. But he might send a message. Someone she'd trust. I looked at Tony. You grew up in that neighborhood. Who would she trust? His eyes widened. Her priest. Father Benedetti at St. Anthony's. Put someone on the church, I ordered. Discreet surveillance. If a message comes, we'll know. Carlo nodded approvingly. Good thinking. I'd been right. 3 days later, one of our people spotted Marchetti's sister receiving a phone call at the church. Then immediately leaving with a packed bag. We followed her to a cabin 2 hours north. And there we found Victor Marchetti. Dante was sitting up when Carlo and the others brought Marchetti back. Bound and bloody. I was in the study when they arrived. Mrs. Romano, Carlo said. We have him. What would you like us to do? It was a test. They were testing whether I had the steel for this. I looked at Marchetti. The man who'd tried to kill my husband. Who'd threatened my unborn child. I felt nothing but cold purpose. Put him in the wine cellar, I said calmly. Secure him. I'll tell my husband. Dante was standing when I entered our bedroom. His color better, though he still moved carefully. You've been busy, he observed. Someone had to be. I sat beside him. We found Marchetti. His eyes sharpened. Where? I told him everything. How I'd run the organization. How I'd reasoned out Marchetti's hiding place. How the men now looked at me with respect. You did this, he said wonderingly. You found him. Cristo, Isabella, you were magnificent. I was terrified, I admitted. But also angry. He tried to take you from me. From our baby. I couldn't let that stand. Dante cupped my face. What do you want to do with him? My choice. He was giving me the power to decide. I want you to handle it, I said finally. But I want to be there when you do. I want him to see that the woman he dismissed was the one who found him. Pride blazed in Dante's eyes. Tomorrow night, when I'm stronger. That night, as we lay together in the darkness, Dante's hand resting on my swollen belly, I felt our baby kick. Strong, insistent movements. She's a fighter, Dante murmured. Like her mother. Or he is, I countered. Like his father. Either way, he said, our child will know strength. And love. And family. The next evening, I stood beside Dante in the wine cellar. Victor Marchetti knelt before us, defiant even in defeat. You made a mistake, Dante said quietly. You thought my wife was my weakness. But she's my strength. She's the reason I survive. The reason I fight. The reason I build instead of just destroy. She's just a woman, Marchetti spat. No. I stepped forward, my hand resting over my belly. I'm the woman who found you. The woman who commanded the men you thought would follow you. The woman carrying the next generation of Romano power. I looked at Dante. I've seen enough. Do what needs to be done. We left the cellar together. Dante's arm around my waist, leaving Carlo to handle the rest. I didn't need to watch. Didn't need to know the details. I just needed to know the threat was eliminated. That my family was safe. 4 months later, I went into labor on a cold December night. Dante was beside me the entire time, holding my hand, coaching my breathing, looking more terrified than I'd ever seen him. You're doing so well, amore, he murmured. So strong. Easy for you to say, I gasped between contractions. You're not. The pain cut off my words. I bore down, following Dr. Moretti's instructions. Push. Breathe. Push again. And then finally, a cry. Strong and furious and perfect. It's a girl, Dr. Moretti announced, placing our daughter on my chest. She was beautiful, dark hair like Dante's, and when she opened her eyes, I saw they were the same stormy gray. Hello, little one, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. We've been waiting for you. Dante's hand was gentle on our daughter's head, his own eyes bright. She's perfect, he said. You're both perfect. What should we name her? I asked. Rosa, he said immediately. After my grandmother, the woman who taught me that strength and softness could exist together. Rosa Romano, I tested the name. I love it. Our daughter stopped crying and blinked up at us with those serious gray eyes. She's already judging us, I said, laughing through my tears. Smart girl, Dante murmured. Takes after her mother. Later, when Rosa was sleeping in my arms and Dante sat beside us, his arm around my shoulders, I thought about everything that had brought us here. The rejection I'd overheard, the attack that had forced us together, the war that had tested us. And finally, this, our daughter. Do you remember what you said the day we got married? I asked quietly. That you were a mistake? Dante's arm tightened around me. My greatest lie and my greatest regret. Mine too, I admitted. Because I believed you. And now? I looked down at our sleeping daughter. Then up at my husband. Now I know the truth, I said. You didn't reject me because you didn't want me. You rejected me because you wanted me too much. You still terrify me, he admitted. The power you have over me. The things I do to keep you safe. Good, I kissed him softly. Because you terrify me too. This life, this love, this family we've built, it's more than I ever dreamed possible. Rosa stirred in my arms, making small sounds. We both looked down at her with matching expressions of wonder. She saved us, you know, Dante said quietly. We saved each other, I corrected. That's what family does. And as I sat there, my daughter in my arms, my husband beside me, I realized something. I'd spent my whole life wanting to escape this world. But I'd never realized that sometimes the greatest freedom comes not from running away, but from finding your place within it. From finding the person who sees your strength and doesn't fear it. Who values your voice and doesn't silence it. Who loves you not despite your fire, but because of it. I'd married a man who called me a mistake. But I discovered that monsters were just men who'd never been given a reason to be human. And I'd given Dante that reason. Just as he'd given me mine. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps the channel grow. I'll see you in the next.